All right, what's up, everybody? Let me see here. Let's see. So a lot of people have been asking about it, asking for it. I promised it. I'm gonna deliver on that promise. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I hope that comes out correct. I hope that comes out correct. We shall see. All right. So anyway, this is going to be a breakdown, a comprehensive breakdown of the graphics for this game. I know it's very important to a lot of people. Obviously, it was very important to me. Uh, since I've upgraded my system to a more powerful system, I don't necessarily worry about any of it anymore. Um, obviously, the enhancements are important. So from that angle, but uh, because I've spent hundreds of hours, literally uh, hundreds of hours, not only developing relationships with the graphics mod makers who are very intimate and integral to this game. JBX, Juan from JBX, which makes JBX 2 and 3, and Damien, who makes Project Next Gen PNG, photorealistic experience. Uh, it's been very useful. It's been very enlightening, and I want to share that knowledge with you all and make sure that you guys can have the graphics that you want, or at least to a certain degree anyway, because it does depend on hardware for sure. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. And I don't know where I left off, but I know how important it is. Obviously, yeah, that's where I was. So graphics, yeah, it's going to depend on hardware for sure. But there are a lot of things that you can do because this game engine is very old. So it makes it, and they've done a great job optimizing it. So it makes it easy to uh, get some of these graphical settings maximized. So the first thing I want to do is kind of go through the list and explain these one by one. Again, I have over 3,000 hours in the game, whether that's with doing mods, whether that's driving or dealing with crashes, um, you name it. Uh, Research and scoured the internet timelessly and endlessly. With the system that I had before, it was a iMac, so I was using an iMac running boot camp. I had an i5 processor, which is not that great, but it was an i5 uh, with Windows 10, so I was running boot camp. And I had 64 gigs of RAM. That's important. I'll come back to that later. The graphics card that I had was a AMD 5300 Pro, which was basically a productivity card that came in the 2019 iMacs. So it was nothing crazy or insane, but If you go and look at some of my videos from back then, the way the game looked was pretty good for that setup. So I'm gonna help you guys maximize by going through the list, and I am literally gonna go through the list because I believe for me, and again, if you obviously can skip ahead through the video. I don't know about timestamps or anything like that because this is a live stream, but you are able to go through the video if you choose to, and kind of hit on different parts. So I'll make sure to make it easy on you to not switch too many screens. Let me turn this music down a bit. There we go. So I'll try to make it easy and not switch through too many screens. That way, when you see the screen switch, you'll know that's another part of the video that you can kind of take a peek at. But I believe that the more you know, the more you're able to diagnose. Basically, you don't know, then you don't know. If you do know, then you're able to, figure it out, kind of troubleshoot, and get to where you want to be. All right, and some of the stuff is going to be self-explanatory, but I'm still going to say it anyway. So full screen mode, we already know what that is, right? Basically, this allows you to run the game full panel. If you're on a monitor or a TV, I'm on the TV, so if you're on the TV, you can run in full screen mode if you want, or if you want access to your desktop and the game at the same time, then of course uncheck that box and you'll be in windowed mode, which will put up a box. Windowed mode will be determined as far as the size of it. The size of your window will be determined by your resolution. So if you run at a lower resolution like 2560 to 1440p, that will make your window smaller. And as you go up, of course, or as you go down, depending on which way you want it, that's what will change in the window. Brightness, 100%. I always leave my game brightness at 100. 100 seems like it does good for my TV. Obviously, that's all going to be dependent, but it is very important because the brightness of the game will affect your GPS screen, as well as the HDR in the game will affect that. So if you ever seen the oversaturated GPS screen, if you ever seen like some of the textures inside your interior are too dark, could be because you got your brightness setting too low. So raising it or sliding it back, or will definitely help with that. All right, resolution. So I'm running mine at 4096, which is 5K. Obviously, resolution is just the fidelity of the image quality that you'll get on screen. And all this stuff, I'll get into what my suggestions for your systems. I'll just give a basic overview for what I feel like a system should run. And then you can kind of figure your stuff out and go from there. All right, so the next thing we got is refresh rate, obviously. Refresh rate basically, on your screen, anyway, for the viewer, it will tell you, it will basically determine how clear, how consistent the image will be refreshed, which basically provides that realistic look that you see in videos. Like when you see a car going by and it looks pretty realistic, it's probably because there's a high refresh rate. That's essentially it. It definitely affects image quality. It affects the brightness in this game. It affects the way it looks. It affects the way you drive. It affects latency. So because this is an older system or older engine, there are people that are on the side of the fence that say 60 FPS is the way that you should go and nothing higher, because nothing higher does it, or the game has to work harder. And I'm on the other side of the fence that says no, that's not true. With the optimizations that they made, I can see a significant improvement with being able to run a higher refresh rate. And with the fidelity of the screen and the way it looks. All right, so vertical sync. V-Sync basically takes care of tearing, screen tearing. Obviously, it just synchronizes your images to the refresh rate. So if you want that on, by all means, put it on. If you have a problem with that, put it on. Most of the time, it is disabled because it does take up some GPU. So, all right. So there's two things that you can do. You can click on simple, or you can click on advanced. I'm in advanced. When you click on advanced right here, it will allow you to get to all these options. And so on this section, what I'll do is I'll not only explain to you what it does in the game, I mean what it is presently, but I'll also explain to you how it affects your game. Because I feel like that's a very important factor for you to know. How is this going to affect my game and my GPU? So scaling basically takes the resolution that you have. So if you set, like for instance, mine is set at 4096, which is 5K. Scaling takes 5K. If I let this at 100%, then I'm running at a 5K. Since I've gone up to 400%, that's like doubling the resolution. So instead of 5K, 400% is 10K. Okay, so it's upscaling it to 10K. So think of scaling as upscaling. Basically, it takes what you got set in at the top on your resolution, and it produces higher quality, higher fidelity images. But what it does in scaling comes at a cost of GPU. So if you do not have a powerful GPU, then obviously your best bet is to, one, leave scaling at 100%. Number two, drop your resolution down and raise your scaling up. So I've seen people do 1080p, 400% scaling. I used to run 2560 with 300% scaling because when I went to 400%, it rocked my card, so I couldn't do it. So if you're running a graphics mod like JBX tells you that his mod works best one or two ways. So on the scaling side anyway, the first thing on the scaling side is 100%. His graphics mods work best when the scaling is either at 100 or 400. Nothing less and nothing more unless you go all the way up. That's the way he has his graphics set up, and you can definitely tell the visual difference when you don't follow that instruction. So it does get really dark. Textures look weird when you run it at 200 or 75. So I'm always going to advocate too for either 100% or 400%. Obviously, you can do 200% or 300, 125, what have you. Remember, as you go up in percentages on the scaling too, especially with this engine, with the scaling, the incremental, like if you go to 125, you don't even do it. Just stay at 100. Save yourself the GPU. You'll gain more frames per second, which is important for everybody. And yeah, you'll have better image quality. You'll be able to have more mods running, and you'll have a better looking game. All right. So the next one is SMAA, which is basically the anti-aliasing. So anti-aliasing is in charge of keeping the image smooth, not taking off the blurred edges of the images and giving it that crisp look, right? So a caveat to that is that because this is a 10-year-old engine again, they optimize the heck out of it. Anti-aliasing is not the best. Even when you're running it at ultra, you still will have some blurred edges, some jagged edges in the world. It won't look as crisp because it is an older engine. You only can do so much. So until there's DirectX 12, until that new engine comes out that they've been working on, I believe it's going to come to 2024. That's what I keep hearing from the source that I have. So be on the lookout for that. Anti-aliasing, this is not, it doesn't give you a huge hit on your GPU. It does as you go to Ultra, obviously. If you got a 4 gig GPU like I did, yeah, SMA is definitely going to hit. But what you want to do is you may want to lower something else. So, some of these other options that we'll get into to be able to have the cleanest look. All right. The next one is screen space ambient occlusion. So what's it? SSAO. And I want you to think about screen space ambient occlusion, especially with this game like this. Ambient occlusion basically allows the lighting in the world and the darkness of the world and the assets and all the textures. And it provides a realistic look. So lower ambient occlusion, which it will produce flatter images. They won't have, so the pavement will look duller. The trees will look blobbier as you raise the level of ambient occlusion. You do raise the fidelity of images around the lighting of images, also the fidelity because it looks better, right? So the leaves have separation. You lower it down, and the leaves look blobby. You raise it up, and you can see the difference in between the road and your tires. And it looks like your truck is on the street. You lower it, and the lighting for your tire, and I'm just giving you an example. The lighting for your tires and the truck will definitely be more apparent. The surfaces will not look real. Look like you're floating on something nasty. So this is, with this generation of engine that they use, or with the engine that they currently use, it's SMA always is going to be a power hog. It's going to hog up your GPU. It's going to take up a lot. So keep that in mind. And like I said, at the after I finish going through these one by one, I'll make sure to give you guys a suggestions for low end, mid, and I don't think high end people need a suggestion. I think if you have a high end PC, obviously you're going to be able to navigate through these yourself. I think the information I give for high end PC users, you should be able to take the knowledge and kind of understand what you need to do for your system. So low-end PC users, sometimes not so much. All right, so depth of field. Depth of field is not a heavy graphics. It doesn't take your GPU. It doesn't take too much away from your GPU, your VRAM, basically, video RAM, video memory. That's the technical term for it, but I'm not trying to get too technical. But you have a certain amount of GPU memory, and the more of these slots that you enable, or the more of these selections that you put up to maximum, it's going to take away the amount of memory that you have. So as we said, the ambient occlusion definitely takes up a lot of GPU memory. So when you have that set to low, medium, or high, you will definitely see the effects in game, but you will also see the effects on how it, does your card. So keep that in mind. So depth of field does not harm your GPU. It is a nice little overlay. Basically, it blurs out all the background images up to a certain distance to kind of keep the focus on you. So it is a nice little post-processing effect, but nothing that I would say that you need to keep on unless you like it. If you like seeing everything while you're driving, nothing blurred out in the background, I see. Yeah. Don't turn it on. If you do like that, turn it off. Turn it on, excuse me. All right, so sun shafts. Again, this is another one. It's not hard on the GPU at all. Enable it if you like the nice effect of you know the sunrise, sunsets, as you see the sun light beaming through the trees while you're driving. It's pretty dope, especially with graphics mods. So I would say keep this on. Obviously, sun shafts. It just adds that other level of immersion and realism. Again, I understand you can only do so much, especially if you don't have a higher end card or a high end PC. So keep that in your back pocket. This is a low GPU resource. So the next one is reflection scaling. No, excuse me, I'm sorry. The next one, yeah. So the next one is color correction. Basically, it's the game's way of correcting colors in the world. It doesn't take up a lot of GPU, but some people don't like it because they can tell, excuse me, they can tell the difference in the color correction and the way it's correcting colors makes things too blue or too this or too that. So that's going to be a personal choice. Again, these three options, the check boxes, they don't take up anything when it comes to memory. These are very low memory resource settings. All right, so reflection scaling. Um, this is the super dope option. Uh, it does a lot. um, so, in effect, in this game, what reflection scaling does is it makes all, whether it's the paint, and this is the cool thing that I saw as well. Not whether it's the paint, chrome, assets in the world like guardrails, windows. Yeah, it even goes to windows on the buildings. So it makes them have that glass look. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, some things look very plastic, even though they're supposed to replicate windows, or they're supposed to replicate a clear, see-through substance material. Well, having this setting up allows it to do that. You also get better reflections on uh, chrome parts on your truck and on traffic, as well as you get better quality on the texture of the world in itself, which is windows, buildings, light poles, things that are aluminum. It really does a great job in doing that. And I never really, especially when I first started, I didn't really realize how impactful this setting is. As you get up at 100%, not bad. But when you get up to 200%, yeah, it can take up, it'll take up some memory. So keep that in mind. But that is a setting that I love so much that I would turn other things down because I didn't want to see the world without it. It just looked vastly different. All right, moving on. We have our next one, which is vegetation detail. Again, if you care about it, you care about it. If you don't, you don't. But vegetation detail controls basically in the world. When you're driving, of course, you see the trees, brush, grass, flowers, all those things. This will control the fidelity of those. Raising it high will, of course, give you the best detail possible in vegetation. Makes it look, you can actually see the trees blowing, the leaves blowing on the trees, moving in the wind. You can see the grass, and you can see as much as the engine will allow the separation between grass and the grass blades and bushes and all the branches and things like that. So definitely, this is, you can put this on high, and this is not a heavy resource hit to your GPU. But you can put it on high and still be okay, even if you're running the 4 gig. Yeah, so I talked about vegetation. Here's grass. So same thing applies here. I just coupled them both together. All right, then we got shadow quality. Another, this one can be pretty resource intensive, but having it less than high is, I don't know, it tends to make the, or ultra, it tends to make the high is probably the least that I would set it at. It tends to make the world look a little, again, the immersion quality of the game, right? You want the separation between assets, right? Textures. You want to be able to see the shadow coming from your truck versus on the road. You want to see the shadows from that the trees leave on the road. If that stuff is not important to you, then it's not important. But if that is important to you, then yeah, shadow detail controls all that. So you will see flatter shadows with lower settings, which will be harder shadows. You can see softer shadows, which are more realistic shadows as you're driving. And off of buildings, trees, just basically any asset in the game. All right, so weather quality. Weather quality will control the game's raindrops. You know how that looks, how rain on the street looks. Of course, with the new engine, with the new, I mean not engine, excuse me, with the new update in 1.49, we got the new HDR skybox. Rain and fog as well. Dusk and dawn, all of those as well will be dependent. You'll be able to see the fidelity of it. When I say fidelity, I mean the quality of it will be based, of course, on your settings. So if you want to see higher quality thing, obviously turn it up. The weather setting is not a huge detriment to your card, only if you like rain, will you see a big hit on your frames. So keep that in mind. So the weather quality will control the skybox quality, the cloud quality, right? It will control the sun quality and the sun shaft quality. It will also control the rain and how that looks. You know, how the lighting affects the world. So just make sure, yeah, it's not a heavy hit unless you have rain. Again, I can't stress that enough. Turn rain off if you don't use it. I used to love the idea of driving in rain because I never could do it. I would have to turn my settings all the way down to do it. Then I didn't like the way the world looked, so I wouldn't do it. But then I got a system that could do it, and I've done it. It's not it's not that big of a deal. So it's not that big of a deal at all. Weather quality is great. Keep it on as high as you can get it, and just turn your rain down. If you don't have the system run rain, it's not the end of the world. Trust me, it's not. This game does not do rain very well. The engine does not do rain very well. Anyway, it does look better with the update, but it's still nothing to write home about. And graphics mods, weather mod makers have better mods for rain than the standard game. So, so yeah, you're not missing nothing. But your weather quality, yeah, put it as high as you can get it. Turn rain off, you'll be fine. All right, so here are some big ones right here. So mirror quality, and I'll take these as a group. Mirror quality, mirror resolution, and mirror distance. These three are important, but the most important one is the distance. And obviously mirror distance is going to control the amount of visibility for the cars as they approach in your mirror. Obviously, right? Simple stuff. However, how does that look to GPU? The GPU, the higher that you set this, you are going to suffer tremendously. So I'll say lower your mirror quality. I mean, not your quality, excuse me. Lower your mirror distance. Keep your distance down. Even if you have to drive a truck that has the lane assistance, where you get ready to blink and change lanes, and it said, yeah, that's cool. Turn it to the low, turn to medium, Most people run it at medium. If you can't run it at medium, run it on low. You'll definitely gain a lot of frames, but the difference between medium and low is very minimal. It is very minimal. So that's another point of emphasis. Even as I go back up to ambient occlusion, I hate to have to go back. I forgot to say this. But even with ambient occlusion, the difference in between low and medium is very minimal. You can really not tell the difference to a big degree. There is a difference, but it's not big enough. And since the difference is not big enough, it's either one or the other, low or high. And the difference in between mirror distance is not big when you go from low to medium. So I would say put it at medium. It's not a big hit on your GPU as you go from low to medium. Keep it at medium. If you can't run medium, then you need to keep it on low and get a truck that has the warning indicators for as you get ready to change lanes. That'll help you. That will help you. And actually, this should be on ultra. Excuse me. Excuse me. So the mirror resolution. So the resolution and the quality, mirror quality and mirror resolution is, these aren't heavy. These aren't heavily impactful to your GPU. So you can run these high. You can put them on medium. But this is what's so dope about SCS too. Even when you run the mirror quality and the mirror resolution on low or medium, excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, so even when you run it on low or medium, the image quality still looks pretty good. Excuse me. So it's not like you're missing a whole lot if you do that. Let me give me some water real quick. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so it's not like you're gonna miss a whole lot of quality when you do it. It's not like the cars are gonna turn into big blobs. So you can lower those two down to medium. Obviously, the biggest hog to all of them is the distance and how far back you can see the cars coming. So that is the heavy hit to the GPU. Stay away from that one. Keep that on medium. Or put it on low. Low, I mean, they'll be right up on you before you can see them, before you're able to see them. Medium, give you a little more distance. But there is a nice difference in between low and medium. So I would tell you to run on medium if you can. If not, like I said, run on low. Get you a truck that has the lane warning indicator. That way when you're changing lanes, you're not always you're not always crashing into somebody and just stressed out. All right. So let's see, texture quality. So this will control the quality of the textures in the world. How that looks to the GPU. This is very, very important. It is not a heavy hit on GPU, but it does take a nice chunk. It does take a nice piece. It's not very, very heavy, but it is going to hit it. But you definitely want to keep it on high because the textures in the world will look. It basically controls the quality of the way the skins look on cars, the concrete looks on buildings, the pavement, all that stuff. So put it on high. It's still worth it to work around as you're finagling these options, as you're deciding which ones are best, which ones you can do without. I would definitely tell you that texture quality is one that you should not do without, even if you have to lower your resolution. Like I said, the game does a good job at optimization, and some of these options are actually probably less resource intensive since they came out with the new update. All right, so anisotropic filtering. This basically takes away or it enhances, excuse me, the texture quality. Basically, anisotropic filtering and texture quality work hand in hand. I don't want to go too technical, but basically this filtering basically takes the textures in the image and makes it look better. This is not a heavy hit to GPU. Actually, this is no hit to GPU. really. I mean, what, a couple of megs. So it. I don't know how effective it is, but you can definitely tell when you don't have it all the way up. You can max it out. It's not going to do anything. I would definitely tell you to max that out. All right. Normal maps. Excuse me. That again is an aspect of the game that does not take up a lot of GPU, and basically it makes the textures look better. Normal maps are how things are created. Um, whether it's paint jobs, they use normal maps. Assets in the game that have pictures and signs, those are normal maps. Everything in the game has normal maps. It does give you a higher quality image if you enable it. If you disable it, it's fine. It's not going to break, but you'll definitely notice the difference. And since the checkbox options are not heavy hitters on the GPUs, and that's kind of what I want you to get. The options that have the checkbox do not hit your GPU. They are just basically enhancements, and they make the game look better or enhance your experience in the game. So these check boxes versus the sliders, right, or the drop down list. The check boxes really don't hit your GPU that hard. That's why they're check boxes. So normal maps on, yes. Make sure you have it on. Um, Traffic headlights, same thing. Very low. I mean, you're talking about kilobytes. Put it on. Traffic headlights, self-explanatory. AI traffic. Um, you'll see them coming. All right, brake lights, all that. So, all right, next one is secondary vehicle lights. Yeah, same thing. So fog lights, right? Trailer. If you see an oncoming truck in traffic, you'll be able to see the cabin lights it has on top. Any other secondary light besides the headlight, any other light on the truck. Same thing with the trailers. All right, so um, yeah, so light visibility range. Obviously, again, this is a very as we get down to the bottom, this stuff is very low on the GPU, like as far as what it hits, how much RAM it costs. Yeah, it's not a lot. So all this stuff you can max it out, feel good about yourself doing it. Not a big deal at all. Um, and the light visibility range, basically, just as you're driving or as you're in the world, you'll be able to see the lights from buildings from further back. You'll have less pop in with the lights. Obviously, there's a lot of pop in this game in general. There's a way around a lot of the pop in, but if you're on the lower end card, definitely you're gonna have to deal with it for the most part. That's just how it is. It's not a big deal, but there is a mod that's out that will allow you to have deeper draw distance for everything in general, as well as a mod that you can download from ProMods, which is ProMods Canada. In ProMods Canada, when you're down, it's a free download, obviously. So when you're setting up, even if you don't plan on going there, right? I would still say, especially if you have a medium to high end PC, and you want a deeper draw distance, in ProMods Canada, I would just tell you to install it, because when you're going there, the first step that they have you do is generate a DEF file or a definition file. And while you're setting up that definition file, you can change the color of the roads and the navigation menu. You can change the sound of the interior. You can set your vehicle to have damage or no damage. And also the other thing that you can do is set the draw distance, which is not an option in this game. Not an option that you can see to change anyway. Like they don't give us the option to, not on Ultra. All right, so anyway, this is not on Ultra. Sorry about that. All right, so recommendations. If you have a low-end PC, I'm going to recommend your resolution. And when I say low end PC, what I'm speaking to, uh, you know, i5, 4 gig GPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, right? No, or 8 gigs of RAM. That is what I would consider a lower end PC. I would tell you to run 20 right here in the resolution. I would tell you to run 2560 to 1440. And I'm actually going to go through this. Wow, look at these. I didn't even know I unlocked all these other. I was messing around with the config file, and I unlocked some other stuff. So pretty dope. All right, so I would tell you to go. Uh, my mouse feels stuck. Yeah. So if you can run it, I would tell you to go 2560 1440p. With the refresh rate, I would not go above. And again, you don't have this option, but let me see. So when you change your resolution down here to 1440p, you have to apply. And once you hit apply, then you can go to your refresh rate and it gives you the options for it. All right, so I would not tell you to go above 59. Actually, you can go to default. I have not yet figured out what default is. I can't tell if default is an automatic, if it's adjusting, basically if it's an adjusting frame rate, which means or sliding frame rate, which means that it moves depending on usage, or it lessens, it increases if it doesn't, if the load is there, and it lessens if there's no load and it can run it, it increases. I think that's what it is. I'm not too sure. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's a 30 FPS, because that doesn't make sense, because there's always a 30 FPS setting most of the time, especially when you go down to resolution. So I believe default FPS is like sliding FPS option, which basically allows your frames to be stable by whatever the game is doing to decrease or increase the image quality, or I don't know. I used to use it. Yeah, it works. It doesn't look as great, but it works. All right, and I'm gonna tell you, definitely drop your resolution all the way down to 100. 1440p is very forgiving. That's another thing. It is very forgiving. The upscaling, so you could, to be safe, I'm just going to give you something that'll help you maximize your graphics. You can run this at medium. If you need to turn it down to low, then turn it to low, but I'm going to tell you just to keep it there. Right there. Keep it at medium or low, depending on what you understand that your system can. No, excuse me, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. That is the wrong one. Keep your ambient occlusion at low or medium, and keep this at high or ultra. You're not going to be able to tell a huge difference until you go, well, at ultra you will. So you can keep it at high and be okay. Let's do that. You keep this, I would say, just to get the maximum, you put it low. And this is for low end PC users. Obviously, this is going to be, these three options are going to be whatever you choose. Your reflections, you can put that at 100. All right. And then as we go down the list, like I said, a lot of these things, these vegetation details and all that, you can keep these high because they're not big on GPU as you start going down, until you get down to mirror resolution and distance. And I'm going to tell you, for the distance, I obviously put that on medium or low. But the difference in between medium and low as far as GPU isn't significant, but the benefits, if it's important to you, uh, the benefits are significant. So you can keep it on low. You can turn these down to low as well. The image, even when you turn down the resolution and the quality, I'm telling you, the images do not look bad. And that's one of the fascinating things. The image quality does not look bad, but however, if you move towards anything else, up there like high and ultra, as far as distance, yeah, you're gonna get it. If you move it to high and you got a low end PC, you're gonna feel it on the image quality. On the mirror quality. And if you move it to high on the low end PC for resolution, you're gonna feel it. So put those two at medium. If you do have the ability to run it at high, and that's really important to you, then yeah, you got to sacrifice something else, and we can do that. So this is my suggestion for low end PCs to get pretty good graphics. Right, this is going to get you a pretty good graphic setup. Excuse me. The game is going to look pretty dope, and it's going to look especially dope because you're going to get more frames back, so you can make your own adjustments with the mod that I'm going to talk about, which is a free mod, and it is easy to install. And I have it linked in the description. So you're going to be able to make a little more adjustments in these settings. Obviously, I just want to give you a skeleton. I want you to put meat on the bones of how you want your game to look. But this will give you a decent looking game. All right. Now for mid-range PCs, medium level PCs. And again, if you're low end and you find this is too much, well, 1440p at 100% is too much, and yeah, you can drop that down to a comfortable level. You can drop it down to 1920 by 1080 and just raise the scaling up as much as you can. And that'll give you a pretty good image as well. So, yeah. All right. So medium PCs, you're gonna stay right here. And as far as the resolution is concerned, you're gonna stay right there. You're not gonna move. This is what you're gonna move. If you're a mid-range PC, if you can run it, go to 400. If you can't, go down to 300. But you're gonna keep your resolution right there. You're gonna keep. You're gonna put your refresh rate at either 59 or 120. Excuse me. I don't know. It should say 59, 120. Mine probably does. Mine probably says 99, 100. Yeah, yours should say 59 or 120. Or default. 59, 120 or default. Just run at 59. If you have a mid-range PC, like I said, this game is forgiving, so the options that I'm going to give you are going to work, and you're going to be able to increase things and decrease things based on that. All right, so for medium level PCs, here's what you do: put your aliasing up to ultra, a little bit smoother image quality. Put your screen space to medium. Put your reflections up to 200. Leave all this the same. And as you get down to your mirror, all right, you want to set your mirror distance to low. All right, you want to set it to low, you want to set it to medium. And when I say a medium PC, that means an i7. Well, if you haven't, I don't want to say i7, an i5. If you still have an i5, but you got a better than a 4 gig graphics card, if you got a 6 gig or 8 gig, then a lot of these you should be able to run. So, given with the new optimization for medium PCs, excuse me, you may be able to play around with some resolution. Because again, I'm not too sure anymore now. Since I upgraded right before 1.49. So I know in 1.485 and 1.48, The optimizations that were there were improving. And but since I have a different rig, I don't know necessarily the level of optimization that they've done, but they've always significantly improved the engine, which gave you just a little more room to run graphics a lot higher. Or what they've done is with the scaling, right? And this is important for you guys to listen up. So sometimes what they do with scaling, when they optimize the game, like they'll tell you that they optimized it through this with this new update. And sometimes what that is let's just say let's just say scaling at 400% was really heavy on the GPU, and a lot of people couldn't run it who wanted to run it that high and scale it that high. Sometimes what I noticed in one of the updates is what they did is they took the scaling for, instead of you having to scale it at 400 to get good fidelity, good quality, you could actually bring it down to 300. Now, they didn't tell you that. It wasn't like there was a patch notes. SCS doesn't do that. You got to figure out what they did. And so one of the things that they did is they optimized the scaling. So when you scaled it to 300 and 200%, the quality was just as good. And then when you scaled it to 400%, it got a lot better. So that's for ATS. I don't know if that was for ETS, but I do know that was for ATS. So moving on, I'm not gonna save any of these settings. All right, so hopefully that gives you guys some information. Now let's go back to the main menu. The next mod that I'm going to talk about is going to change your life. I got to know him pretty good too. Snowy Moon. And Snowy Moon has created a mod that will help you significantly increase FPS. And it is temporal anti-aliasing, or TAA mod. And what this mod allows you to do, it allows you to select presets depending on what you want to accomplish. So if you have an NVIDIA-based system, temporal anti-aliasing, if you don't have an NVIDIA or you don't have a high-end card, you got a low card like a 4 gig card, TAA works in motion. It's best seen in motion, so it makes image quality a lot sharper, a lot crisper, rather than just sitting still, but it is a significant improvement. And because you have TAA on, you can drop the anti-aliasing in the game, you can disable it. By running this mod, you can disable the anti-aliasing in the game, and that will allow you to have higher frame rates, and you're not going to lose quality. You're actually going to gain quality. If you have an NVIDIA card, there is a DLAA option. And this is all AI learning and AI upscaling. And then there's DLSS, and he has the different presets for all those. He has quality, balance, and performance. Of course, you know AI upscaling. One of the cool things though too, let me select this one real quick so I can show you guys. Let's see. All right, we'll click on that. Yeah, we'll click on that. So it gives you an option for the preset. Now you can select less ghosting, you can select less aliasing, or you can select whatever. The other third option is, I think it's F, preset F, which is basically just a combination of both of those. But here's the cool part. Here's a recommendation. So this is where you're going to benefit too. And listen up, guys. This mod is free. This is where you're going to benefit. So here's the recommendation. He recommends that you basically that you don't increase the resolution, right, to 100%. That you put it at 25 or 50. Now think about this, guys. You're able to, if you have an NVIDIA card, with this mod, you're able to take your resolution down and still get the same quality. That's huge. That is huge. So if you have a lower end card, a 4 gig or even at even an 8 gig, if you got an 8 gig, if you got less than 12, then you still need this mod. I mean I have a 4090 and I still have it because I like DLAA. All right, so you're able to take your resolution down either to 25 or 50%. And again, taking it down to 25 or 50% does not mean that you're going to lose image quality. It means that you're going to gain quality. The AI is going to upscale it, right? So select your resolution. So if you want to run the game at 4K, select 3840 by 2160, and then go down. And the other option that you'll see is the scaling. Take the scaling for that down to 50% or 25%. Keeping it at 100 will double it. Or it will make it like you're running 8K. That's the way it works. So this AI upscaling is going to take whatever you do, whatever you have it set at, the resolution, and it's going to scale it up. And because it's going to scale it up, you can take your resolution down, which means that your game is going to run a lot faster, so you can have a higher frame rate. You can enable a lot more features. So instead of running your screen ambient occlusion on low or medium, you can now run on high. Instead of having your mirror distance on medium, you now can probably have it on high. You can have the quality on high. You know what I mean? So all these things, the reflection detail, you can have that on 200%. Right. So all these features that you weren't able to take advantage of by installing the TAA mod, and I have that in the description as well. It's going to enable you to do that, to run your game at a higher frame rate, higher resolution, without losing any type of quality. So super dope. I do have launch options in my description of the video. I am not going to switch back and forth to my desktop right now at the moment. I am going to include more details in the description about the launch options, how you get to it. In the Steam workshop, basically you go, not workshop, excuse me, in Steam, you click on your game. I think a lot of people actually have done the video on this already. But you go to your game in your library, you right click on it, you go down to properties. When properties window opens, excuse me, you scroll all the way down to the bottom and it will say launch options. And launch options or launch commands. So launch options basically are commands that you can type into this little bar that will tell the game how to adjust to your system. Whatever you put in there will help the game adjust to whatever hardware you have. So if you have lower RAM or if you have a lot of RAM, you can tell the game how you want it to use that. You can increase performance in the game that way. And so I have the launch command in my description. You can copy and paste that. If you have a 32 gig system, you'll see the number 16,000 whatever. That's for a 32 gig system. I will also put in the description a list for lower gigs, like if you have 8 or 16, that number will change. And I'll tell you what that number is. I'll leave that in the description. But essentially, you can, if you have a 32 gig system, you can copy and paste everything that I have in there, and then copy and paste, put it in. If you don't have a 32 gig system, then you can copy and paste every command that's in there and put that in there, except for the part that has the -mm and temp pool 16,000 But anyway, like I said, don't worry about it. If you don't have it, a 32 gig system, don't worry about it. I'm going to make sure I write in the description exactly what number you need to substitute, or you can look it up and copy all the information, and you can look it up yourself. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, I suggest that you do that. But this has been a breakdown. Again, like I said, I have tons of hours in the game. I have a IT background, uh, and I wanted to make sure that I shared just a nugget of how this game works, how it uses these options, what these options mean to you and your card, and hopefully that gives you the ability to have a better gaming experience, honestly, because that's why we're all here, right? We want to play this game. We want the game to look good. We want to run graphics mods, blah, blah, right? Well, this is the start. So if you're new to ATS, welcome. If you're a veteran of ATS, man, you already know it's a dope game. Dap me up for that. And if you're a content creator who happens to check out the video, bro, I'm happy to be side by side with you, uh, achieving the same goals, loving this community, and helping out in any way we can. Other than that, guys, smack the subscribe button, hit the like, follow, drop a comment if this video is helpful. If you have any questions, I'm always here to help. I love this game. This game has changed my life. It gave me a cool game to play, a game that I can be creative on, and yeah. So there's so many different aspects that I enjoy about it. But I'm always willing to help you guys out, give you some tips if you need tips in any area of the game. I got you. Um, you can check out any content, obviously, that I have as far as videos. Leave comments, and I'll make sure I answer those. Or go check out some of the other YouTubers' comments about the graphic settings if somebody else has done it. Obviously, there's plenty of stuff out there. There's plenty of information out there. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents, my 3,000 cents, and hopefully let it help you guys have a better gaming experience and enjoy the game a lot more. So. But I'll leave it there. I want you guys to have a great day. And I am going to end the stream. And I'm going to restart the stream and